Extreme Trends presents He thought he brought home a puppy, but later realized it was something else. Before we begin, do us a favor and click that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be inspired by these heartwarming stories every day. We've heard stories about a boy and his dog for as long as we can remember, but this isn't your typical boy meets dog type of story. Dogs are a part of many people's lives, providing protection, loyalty, and friendship. If you can't resist petting a dog, you know how hard it is to resist petting a puppy. This story is about a puppy someone brought home that looked like a dog, but turned out to be something else entirely. It started when an 18-year-old college man from Tucson, Arizona found a lost puppy in a shopping cart and asked his parents if he could keep it. His parents thought that it would be nice to have a dog around, and they felt like they could handle the responsibility, so they told him that they could keep him. They named him Neo, but noticed right away that Neo was a bit different. He was kind of a terror. Neo used the man's car as a bathroom, and he would only allow the man and no one else to give him any kind of attention. And Neo sure did want a lot of attention. When the man went to work or school, Neo was an absolute wreck, and no matter what the parents did, they just couldn't gain Neo's trust. So the parents ended up putting Neo in the backyard, hoping he would run around and play like other dogs. That's not what he did. Most puppies like to play with balls or lounge around, but not Neo. Neo was a master of escaping, and the neighbors didn't exactly like it. He would dig under the fence to get out, or he would jump the fence altogether. Neo wasn't trying to be a nuisance. He had a reason for escaping, and it wasn't long before his owner understood. Every time Neo broke free of their backyard, he went off to visit his neighbor friends, the German Shepherds. Neo didn't necessarily like to hang out with humans, but he sure did like other pups. The dogs next door were just screaming for his attention, and he couldn't resist the call. It was all well and good for Neo, but the neighbors certainly had their own opinions on the matter. Neo's human neighbors wanted to try to help, so they brought Neo in their house every time he escaped, and brought him back when his owner returned home. Neo didn't really care to make friends with them. He wouldn't look at them, and he didn't want any of the treats that they offered. He just wanted to hide in their bathroom until it was time for him to go back home. At this point, his owner had to turn to extreme measures. After Neo's repeated escape attempts, the family had to try something else. They built an enormous strong fence that cost them a pretty penny in an effort to keep Neo in the backyard. Neo wasn't fazed. He knew a challenge when he saw one, and he began plotting escape. Of course, the fence wasn't going to hold Neo back. In fact, it was more like a new fun challenge. Neo wasted no time and started chewing right through the brand new fence his family put up. His jaw power was absolutely incredible. With that pesky fence problem out of the way, Neo was able to go see his friends again. Everyone was kind of over the escape artist, and they knew something needed to change. The neighbors ran out of options, and the next time Neo escaped, they called the local animal shelter. The family took Neo to the Humane Society of Southern Arizona in hopes of getting some professional advice, and maybe even a place for Neo to stay until his owner returned home. When the CEO of the shelter, Maureen O'Neill, met Neo, she had news that shocked everyone in Neo's life. O'Neill immediately walked up to Neo and his owners. "You know that's not a dog, right?" she said. Because of Neo's beautiful yet specific markings, he was skinny but powerful. He had a rough coat and beautiful amber eyes, and the fact that he avoided most humans, Maureen knew right away what Neo was, and he was not a dog. Neo was a wolf. No one seemed to be too surprised when they heard, but it did create a problem for everyone involved, especially Neo. It seemed that Arizona state law indicated that no one could legally own a wolf unless they were of Native American descent or they obtained a special permit. Unfortunately, the shelter couldn't even take Neo in without having to report him to the proper authorities, and that meant that Neo would properly be put down. Neo's family wasn't going to let that happen, so they had to quickly figure something out. O'Neill began doing some research and found something that might help. In California, there was an organization called Wolf Connection. They had land, special facilities, and professionals that were capable of taking care of wolves and wolf hybrids, which is most likely what Neo was. Neo would get the proper care that he needed there, and by people who knew what they were doing. They just needed to wait for the facility to accept Neo, and they sure did accept him. Even though it was hard for his owner, he agreed that going to Wolf Connection in California was the best thing for Neo. When Neo got his new home, he had to learn to adjust, which included getting used to quite a few other wolves. Most of the time, this is done very slowly and carefully. Neo, on the other hand, had a completely different way of doing things, as if Neo would do anything else but try to escape. Neo didn't want to wait any longer to meet his new friends, so Neo escaped from his pen Connection. After Neo snuck out, he decided he wanted to meet the alpha female that lived in the enclosure next door to him, a wolf that went by the name of Maya. Even though it was stressful for the caretakers, there was no way that they could stop the stubborn Neo. Thankfully, everything worked out just fine. Neo bonded perfectly well with the other wolves. As it turned out, the reason why Neo was constantly jumping the fence to hang out with the German Shepherd neighbors was that Neo wanted to be a part of his very own pack. It also explained why Neo was always so shy with humans. The only thing left for the wolf dog was for him to get accustomed to his new environment. And that is exactly what Neo did. Neo is more than happy living at Wolf Connection. Because of the experience that Wolf Connection has with wolf dogs like Neo, they knew exactly how to handle him, and he has become a very well-balanced wolf dog. It looks like things turned out better than all right for this rescue pup. Thanks to his original owner and the staff of Wolf Connection, Neo will live a very happy, long life. That was one surprising story, but all went well in the end. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more real-life amazing stories, simply tap on one of the 2 videos on your screen.